Now, I know we have spoken a lot about the disaster in Afghanistan and what led up to it, from the tactical delusion to give up the Bagram Air Base to the strategic decision to gift the Taliban with a PR victory on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. But there is more to this than just stupid decision-making driven from the top by a president who's barely competent to operate a waffle cone. A month ago, Americans were introduced to this guy, Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley. Here he is putting aside predictions that the Taliban would automatically take over Afghanistan after a U.S. pullout.
I want to emphasize repeatedly, and I've said this before, a negative outcome, a Taliban automatic military takeover, is not a foregone conclusion.
Well, how did that work out for you, General? It went less remarked at the time, but General Milley's tactical genius was earlier on display before Congress a few months ago when he told them that the Bagram Air Base wasn't really necessary for the U.S. to keep order in Afghanistan.
On Bagram is not necessary tactically or operationally for what we're going to try to do here with Afghanistan. Consolidate on Kabul in support of their government.
Now, I don't believe in reincarnation, but if I did, I'd believe General Milley was perhaps the second coming of whomever told Napoleon it was a great idea to lay siege to Moscow in winter. But while General Milley may not be much chopped with moving troops around a map, there is one thing he does know, and that is the need for American soldiers to get in touch with their feelings about white rage. Have a listen.
First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white. And I want to understand it. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there.
But despite the general's protests, there is every indication that the U.S. military has indeed been going woke. The white rage General Milley referred to was the subject of seminars at West Point, the United States' premier military academy, one of countless examples of how the Pentagon has been taken over by what feels like the Human Resources Department. For example, the Chief of Naval Operations has also recommended How to Be an Anti-Racist, a book that proposes, quote, future discrimination, ostensibly against white people, on his professional reading list for sailors. Earlier this year, we talked on this program about how the U.S. Special Operations Command Chief of Diversity and Inclusion, yes, they have such a thing, was reassigned after it was revealed that he had been tweeting about how Trump was just like Hitler or some such nonsense. And there is more. Remember the recruitment campaign featuring the young woman who was inspired to join the military because of her two moms? When Republican Ted Cruz criticized it, Democrats slammed him for suggesting the ads were sending a less than terrifying message to the West's enemies about the U.S. military's readiness to go in for the kill. Then there was the Pentagon's push under the Biden administration to target, quote, extremism, which many interpreted as support for conservative causes or Donald Trump, and as a sign the military's new aim was not foreign enemies, but domestic opposition. Also under the Biden administration, while the Chinese military was out there building the world's largest navy, history buffs will remember where that winds up leading, the Pentagon was concerned with changing things like hairstyle regulations, all in the name of inclusion. Well, quite predictably, all this inclusion is being felt right around the world, most notably in Afghanistan, where the Taliban has included itself all the way into Kabul. I'd suggest they're probably getting nervous in Taiwan, too, lest Xi Jinping decide to inclusive his way over from the mainland. But hey, diversity is strength, right? Now, you know what we love to say on this program, go woke, go broke. But it's a lot easier to have fun with it and joke when the subject is a razor company that's gone and insulted its customer base, or a luxury automaker trumpeting its feminist credentials over footage of their latest model chewing up the Autobahn. This, though, is a lot more serious. And as we were warned, if the military kept this up, it wouldn't be long before the rest of the world stopped taking America seriously. Sadly, that's already happened, and under Biden, a lot faster than anyone, even myself, ever anticipated. It's worth noting one final thing. After Pearl Harbor, FDR relieved Rear Admiral H.E. Kimmel from his command of the Pacific Fleet, sending a powerful message that failure would not be rewarded or tolerated. If Joe Biden wants to save his sorry legacy, he should start by cleaning out the Pentagon brass responsible for this disaster in Afghanistan tomorrow, starting with General Milley. If he doesn't, Republicans should start impeachment proceedings immediately.